Rashard Lawrence is getting ready for the NFL draft. He should have his name called anywhere between Friday and Saturday, in between the third and fifth rounds, if you're looking at all these mock drafts and getting prepared to do that after a stellar career at LSU. And he's checking in with us here on ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and Alexandria. Big fella, good morning. How are you, man?
I hope y'all having a good morning. Exciting
Absolutely.
times right now.
It is, man. It is. Hopefully, same to you and your family up there in Monroe. We talked to you right after you committed to LSU 4 years ago on the air and talked about that process and the decision to stay inside the state and represent LSU. Now, 4 years later, what was that experience like?
Man, special experience. Obviously, the first thing that pops off in your mind is the national championship. But I look back at, the tougher days. We had some things going on with Florida having to play them twice in the swamp. Troy lost. Some kind of mediocre years, average years. And, then I think about we get this guy named Joe Burrow. We get a couple seniors staying back, myself too, and we got a ball club. I look at the Texas game, shootout. We're not used to being in shootouts. We're used to being in defensive games, and it's like a new era of LSU football. I look at the defense struggling, early in the season, but then we turn it on late in the season, and we got a complete team, and we win a championship. But, man, it's been some highs, a couple lows, but to cap it off with a national championship, that was my goal 4 years ago. And to get that and to be probably arguably one of the best teams in college football, pretty special.
Rashard, you mentioned the offense there, and I can remember being on the sideline for the Vanderbilt game, and the defensive line goes over. They sit down on the bench. The defensive line coach gets the whiteboard out to make adjustments off the last series, and LSU scored again. And I remember the look on all of y'all's face like, wait a minute, we didn't even get a chance to sit down and put a marker here on this board. How tough was it to get used to LSU being this high-powered offense and scoring so quickly that you were out there a lot more?
Yeah, it was tough, especially with the struggles we had early on. We had some guys nicked up and banged up early, and we were kind of, you could say, the weak link of the team at the time. Joe and both Joes, Joe Brady and Joe Burrow, man, they had a great game plan week in and week out. So it was our job. Really, what we had to do as a defense was stop people a couple times, and we were guaranteed to win the game. But being a defensive player, you want to play great defense, and that's what LSU is known for. So we turned it around towards the end of the season, but to have that offense, it kind of, put a big stress reliever off of our back, knowing that, hey, 85, 90% of the time we know Joe is going to, if not score, get us in field goal range. We're getting points on the board. So pretty impressive, and I'm, anxious to see how the offense looks next year with Miles and, all the new guys they got coming there.
Former LSU defensive tackle, getting ready for the NFL draft, Rashard Lawrence, joining us here, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and Alexandria. What's this part of the process been like? Obviously, the world is affected by this pandemic and COVID-19, but you're trying to get prepared for a next step in your life as far as your professional career goes. What's this been like in getting prepared for the draft?
Pretty different. I was look at how, I was working out in Dallas, Texas, just got back into Baton Rouge Saturday, and the thing I noticed a couple weeks ago is I walked outside to go take a run, and I see people kind of, swaying off left and right, and I'm like, I asked my girlfriend, what's going on? And she's like, 6 feet, Rashard, and I was like, what you talking about? So now I have to kind of adapt to the rules and everything, so it's pretty different. I look at kind of having to go to a neighborhood or a park and, find some open grass and just getting some position-specific drills in, working with my D-line coach. But the biggest thing is looking how kind of all my meetings have been with teams has been virtual, FaceTime meetings, haven't had a chance to take any visits to facilities or anything. So it's a little different, but still exciting. We'll be the first class to ever have a virtual NFL draft, so it's pretty cool.
Shard, you're a three-time captain at LSU, and so when you're on those Zoom meetings and on those calls, how much do they ask you about your leadership?
A lot. The good thing about, being a captain and being a good character guy is you don't have any red flags coming up. I think that LSU really helped me um, put myself in a position, being a three-time captain, that I'm respected by NFL teams, whether it's, talking to a defensive coordinator, talking to a defensive line coach, whatever. They respect that, and, they respect it a little bit more whenever, it's a national champion, a captain. So it's special to have that title. That's pretty rare. And to have that, is definitely a plus when talking to NFL teams.
Ogeron's got a great reputation of working with defensive linemen through his days in college football. They brought in Bill Johnson while you were there, who has NFL pedigree, was on a Super Bowl winning team with the New Orleans Saints and in the Super Bowl with the Los Angeles Rams. Meatball was there. They brought back Benny Logan. What was the development like as a defensive lineman at LSU? Talk about the emphasis at that position group and getting those guys better and the improvement you've made over the last 4 years.
Right, yeah. So biggest thing is I take away from that is looking at whenever Coach Dave came in, this was the first time, I think, in Coach O's career that he ran a 3-4 defense and coached it. So we were always in a big, learning and developmental phase throughout the 4 years. And it's a defense where, if you haven't ran it before, playing defensive line, it's a little different and more little small nicky techniques that you got to have. So we were always on learning mode, developmental mode, and we brought in a lot of different coaches to kind of talk to us about it and how they played and how they see it. So we got really good in our 3-4 defense, and we really got good at, stopping the run. I think that was one of our best things that really helped us out as a defensive line. I look at, we probably didn't get the pass rush we wanted at sometimes, but, I think with this new defense coming in, with, Bo coming in, you'll see a lot more sacks, probably double the sacks we had last year. But as far as how we progressed and how we got better as a defensive line, I mean, teams love it. We were able to play a lot of 3-4 and even some 4-3. So that versatility is very important to have, anytime you play defensive line.
Speaking of next year's team, Rashard, you were a big mentor to Tyler Shelvin, a guy that really came on in the middle and late part of last season. What's the ceiling for him? Because it looks like he could be a guy that could be a first-round pick here.
Right. I think Tyler, he can go as far as he wants to. I think, it's kind of interesting. Teams are talking to me, but they're already asking about next year's guys. All of them. It's pretty funny how it works. So, recruiting never stops, even at the next level. But especially Tyler Shelvin, I think that, he's probably, when he goes to the combine, he's going to run a crazy 40 that a lot of people probably haven't seen for a big man that size. Super athletic, physical, and what he can do is he just has to come in ready to be in shape, and he's a first-rounder lock. Hell of a player, hell of a person, and I see him really doing great things, in that 4-3 defense.
21 tackles for loss over the last 4 years. Rashard Lawrence joining us here on Off the Bench. He was the defensive player of the game in the Fiesta Bowl at the end of his junior season. I was sad to see that the celebration didn't carry over to the senior year.
Bro.
How much they let you have that in the locker room about that celebration?
Oh, yeah, it was all on Twitter. Had a bunch of memes of it, and I'm glad y'all didn't see it again. Still kind of working on the celebration for the sacks in the NFL, so y'all stay on the watch for that, and hopefully I can put up a better showing.
Hell yeah, man. Whoever gets you out of the 32 teams is going to get a winner, a class guy, and a really good football player. Do you have any particular, has there anybody been that stood out in this process through the one-on-ones, or maybe a part of the process where you feel like you might land?
Oh man, it's so I've had a couple of teams that I've really talked to as far as just one-on-one and really saying hey, we're on your board. I don't know if they want me to classify their names, but it's a couple NFC South teams, a couple AFC North teams. Guys, it's a bunch of them. But the biggest thing is, man, is that I think that this process is so tricky in the fact that a team can really like you, but, for that round or that pick, what's their need? Every team's looking forward to next year, and some teams are in win-now mode. So it's kind of tricky on how, some teams can really like you, but, hey, they have to take a pick earlier and get a running back to say, that's what they got to do. So it's kind of tricky, but I think wherever I land, hopefully it's good weather, good system, and just be ready to play wherever I go.
Been a hell of a 4-year run, man. It's been a joy to watch you play. I know that all LSU fans will enjoy pulling for you as a professional. You're a great representative for the flagship university and the city of Monroe in our state. Best of luck to you in this part of the process. We'll catch up again soon.
I appreciate y'all's time, man. Have a good one.
You got it. There he is, Rashard Lawrence, checking in this morning as he gets prepared for the weekend